those employees that can embrace that don't just say, I'm stuck, I'm just another old employee. The players and the employees that can embrace that are the ones that have the mobility, the ability to move around, find opportunities. Opportunity's never the problem.
Yeah.
For those people.
Well, and it's a downside and a positive of being an employee. If you have one great skill set, lean into that skill set and find a role within the organization where that skill set goes. Jared and I both played soccer growing up, and Jared has been a midfielder, defender, and a striker, and so he's played a little bit of all the positions. But sometimes you find that striker who's just a goal scorer, and not great on the field doing anything else, but man, they can put the ball away. And I know that every sport has a similar type of thing. You're not going to have your kicker start throwing the ball as a quarterback, right? Like, we get the idea. There's role players. And part of the great thing about being an employee is you can find your role and you can excel in it. One of the downsides is there's often a price cap to each of those roles. And so even though you may be really great at kicking, they're only going to pay you so much, but if you're really great at throwing, they'll pay you this much. And you get the idea within an organization. So one of the things that I encourage people to do as an employee, especially in the financial service industry and being an agent or advisor, or even a staff member, is to use your skills and strengths in an area that you can get compensated the most, and finding an organization that values what that is. There are great organizations out there that are like, it's the sales team, and they will pay the sales team. And, that's morals and everything else go out the window, take care of the sales team. And I don't mean that to the extent that I'm saying it, but the other part of it is, it's a team approach. And for those, it's the staff that tends to get more involved, and salespeople have to learn to work together, and it's more of a collaborative approach. And so finding the organizations where those values shift and change, let's stop viewing them as good or bad, but let's view them as, where do my skill sets work best? Where do my values fit in the best?
Yeah. So as we're taking a look at an organization, particularly in our industry, we have administrative assistant type roles. We've got support roles. We have service roles. We've got underwriting roles. We've got sales roles. We've got leadership roles and management roles. And when we look in the organization, there are so many roles. And so I'm going to ask you a question. How important is it that, number one, you find the right company, and number two, you find the right role? And if you don't, what happens?
Oh, this is when you get stressed out on Sunday night because you're afraid to go to work. It stinks. You find yourself complaining all the time. You feel like you start saying stuff like, well, I think it's a good company, but if they did this, this, and this, it'd get better. And before you know it, you start finding that you're not swimming the same way that everyone else is. And that's usually a good indication that you're in the wrong spot. On the other side of that, if you're a business owner, or you may find that you got an individual that's kind of swimming the wrong way. Sometimes we feel like we're letting people go because they're not good for our organization, where the reality is their skill sets could be better used in a different organization.
Yeah. It may just be someone on the wrong seat in the bus, or it could be entirely on the wrong bus.
The wrong bus, absolutely.
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just jump into the practitioner for sake of time. What is a practitioner? Like, I hear that, but it's not connecting with me.
Yeah, so I'm pretty passionate about this, and I've had people that disagree with me, and that's fine. But a practitioner, I want you to think of a dentist. I want you to think of a doctor that runs their own operation. The dentist may have another dentist that works for them every once in a while, but they have a lot of hygienists. But at the end of the day, if the dentist isn't doing dental work, does the business exist? And the answer is, well, no. And this is what a practitioner is. And there's the doctor offices the same way. Well, there's financial service offices are the same way too. You get a specialist, right? And they do just annuities, or they do just wealth management, or just Medicare, or final expense only. And they've got some staff around them. And they start saying like, my business, my business. And they do. They absolutely own a business. But I don't consider them a business owner in the term of what I view as a business owner. Now, do they own the business? Yes. Do they fit this definition of a small business? Yes. But if you stop working, does your business keep going? And the answer is no. It dissolves. It's gone away. So these are practitioners. Practitioners that own their own business is the best way of putting it. And it's so important to know this, because I've watched people that are employees that try to become practitioners that fail miserably and succeed very well because they're very good at what they do. They're specialists, but they don't have some of the organizational skills and some of the maybe entrepreneurial understanding to kind of create a practice by themselves. And then I've, met people that are practitioners that they need that flexibility. And so finding that right role is really critical and really important.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the employee just for a minute, and I'm going to
Yeah.
share a personal story of mine. I was an entrepreneur. I got out of college, and I was like, I'm going to go kill the world. I'm going to
Yeah.
make millions of dollars, and it's so easy. And I jumped in. And for the first few years, I did some amazing things with a business that I opened, and then everything changed. And I failed to change with it, and I lost everything. And it was one of those scars that I love because it taught me so much. And what I had to do was at that point of having nothing, I had to find a job, and I had to go interview. And I remember riding my bicycle to a job interview, and I looked at the job, and the job was posted. It didn't pay a ton of money, but the job looked like a right fit, and I needed it. So I took it. I probably broke every rule of mission and vision that we've ever talked about. I probably
Yeah.
broke every rule that you just talked about. And I got in. And was it a perfect job for me? It probably wasn't a perfect job. I was an employee. But I made a decision at that point that I was going to find someone in the company who was the best, and I was going to go straight to him. And this individual actually became a mentor of mine and started teaching me everything. And he loved that. But secondly, I made a very quick decision that I wasn't going to limit myself to the term employee. I wasn't going to put myself in a box, but rather what I was going to do is I was going to try to excel in every area that I could and just see what happened.
Yeah. No, I love it. So we've kind of grown up in a culture where it's like, think outside the box. You're better if you think outside the box. There's an artist that I adore, and he uses his limitations to create his art. And in fact, if you think about most paintings,
What do you mean by he uses his limitations? Tell us about that.
and I should use his name and quote everything, but basically he started getting the shakes. He was a painter, and all of a sudden his hands started shaking. And because his hands started shaking and getting the shake, he couldn't quite do the art the way that he wanted to. And so then he had to embrace his shake, embrace his weakness, and his art took on this whole new approach and new feel. It was absolutely amazing. But, I always think of just a painter in general is where I was going with this. They have 4 frames. Guess the most famous art is in a box. Everyone knows the Mona Lisa. I mean, almost everyone in the world. Let's start talking about sculptures that have no boxes at all. Tell me a famous sculpture. Tell me what they're doing. All the famous art is still in a box. And so as an employee, some of the greatest work that can be done is employee. I started out as an employee for Mass Mutual. I was working for them and had a paycheck, and then I turned into a practitioner, starting my own practice. And and I don't mean to shift gears here, but that shift from an employee to a practitioner, and I know we'll talk about that a little more in a bit here, that's tough, because all of a sudden you don't have a paycheck as a practitioner. And a practitioner is in every word an entrepreneur. They definitely are. In fact, to me, they're some of the bravest entrepreneurs out there, even over business owners, because they are it. They're in it, and I have mad respect, love all practitioners, because, I know how hard it is. How am I going to find someone to build a business off of? What clients are going to want to meet with me? How am I going to go about doing that?